every spoken word, what your soul has longed for, what your heart can feel, is already here, is already real.
There is no one out there, there is no one else. You hold all the answers deep inside of yourself. There's a voice that whispers, there's no you, no me. There's just one, there's just unity.
One power, one presence, one light to lead the way. All loving, all knowing, that answers when you pray.
When the world looks darkest and your eyes can see, gather all your troubles, give them all to me. I am always with you, I will always be. I am one, I am unity. We are one, we are unity.
Good morning, and welcome to Unity of Ventura's online Sunday service. My name's John Callahan, and I'm your host today. How absolutely delightful it is that you have chosen to join us this morning. You know, what we do on Sunday mornings is so special. We come together as one in mind, in heart, and in consciousness. And our purpose in doing so is to support each other and to share our hearts with each other. When we do this, I think magic happens. It feels like magic anyway. So please know that your presence and your consciousness is both appreciated and valued. So let's take a moment now to remember who we are at Unity of Ventura. You know, it's a radiating center of spiritual well-being. You know, we're the home of a most gifted and talented music team. We have an extraordinary team of guest speakers who deliver the most uplifting and inspiring sermons. And, you know, we raise the bar for other churches because of our loving, inclusive fellowship, where week after week we transcend time and space to embrace one another and our community in love and peace. Our mission at Unity of Ventura is to provide a loving and accepting environment that inspires personal and spiritual growth through the practice of the principles of unity in our daily lives. These are the principles that were laid down and taught many years ago by our co-founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. We joyfully welcome people of all upbringings, all backgrounds, all lifestyles, all faiths, all philosophies, all ways of thinking. And that's why we are called Unity. There's always that voice that comes out of nowhere. I don't know where that comes from. It's just amazing. Let's take this experience of unity and oneness to a deeper level now as we enter into prayer, holding in our hearts all of our dear friends who are not able to be with us today. Sweet Spirit, we take a moment to just rest in your light and your love, to align ourselves with your guidance and infinite wisdom. We deliberately set aside anything that is not serving us at this very moment, focusing instead on our good, on your good, on your constant blessings, on all of our lives at all times. We remember the law of mind action. Thoughts held in mind produce after their own kind. That which we focus on grows. It's just a natural process. Now, focused on our oneness with God and with each other, we extend a blessing to our spiritual brothers and sisters, to our community, and to the entire world. United in consciousness, we also give thanks in advance for today's lesson that I expect will inspire our spiritual growth, and for the music that always uplifts us, and for the wonderful spiritual family we have whose love, support, and prayers sustain us. For these and all our blessings, we give great thanks. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. We're now going to continue with the daily word. And when we do, remember that we join millions of readers of the daily word all over the world. So the word for today comes to us from today, the 4th of July. Amazing. Don't you love it? And so what would you expect the word to be? Well, the word is freedom. And the affirmation is, in thought, word, and action, I celebrate my freedom. There are many ways to feel free. I may work hard to become financially free. I may plan trips so I can freely explore the world. I may commit to learning for intellectual freedom or exercise my body for greater freedom of movement. Even as I do my work in the world to know freedom, I remember that I am always free at the level of spirit. No situation or circumstance has power over me. Every day and in every area of my life, I live from my divine nature, where I am wholly and completely free. Through my inner powers of understanding and faith, I recognize and embrace empowering beliefs. My spiritual gifts of strength and release keep me on course and help me free myself from habits that derail my spiritual growth. These words were inspired by the Gospel of Paul to the Galatians 5:1. Through God within, I am grateful to be free. The word for today is freedom. The affirmation for today is, in thought, word, and action, I celebrate my freedom. So it is, and so we let it be. Amen.
Forgotten, we are living in the heart of God. Nothing is ever lost, and we are not forgotten. We are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We are living in a heart of God.
Morning sun coming through the trees,
are living in a heart of God. Nothing is ever lost, and we are not forgotten. We are living in a heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God.
We sleep in dreams, both deep and bright, sailing through the velvet night, refreshing the soul to the spirit's delight.
Living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We are living in the heart of God. We are living in the heart of God. Nothing is ever lost, and we are not forgotten.
Let us continue now with our statement of truth. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. Let's say it together now. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. So let's prepare now for a time of quiet contemplation. I hope you're finding a comfortable position. Open your hearts to my words and let them be your own. Breathe. Take a deep breath. Let all the stress of living go. Stretch your body. Relax your face. Let the corners of your mouth begin a gentle smile. Take another deep breath. Each of us began life as a helpless infant, with all the decisions of life made by others. Slowly, we began to make decisions on our own, learning, experimenting, ever so slowly, so that by the time we are 5 or 6, we're able to make our first moral decisions. Oh, freedom at last. Freedom to learn at a new level, a level that's filled with new challenges, new pressures, new experiences, both positive and negative. Nevertheless, each of us moves forward, choosing, deciding, experimenting, learning, growing. Beneath it all is that quiet part of each of us, our spiritual soul. It is taking in every lesson, every choice as it evolves from within. I remember the words of long, long ago, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. I am charged with resisting the pressures of home, of community, of state that restrict my freedom. My ability to grow my spiritual self. I seek out those pieces and places where I can progress. I am so joyful, so grateful to be a part of the community of unity for its support, its love, its guidance. Take some time each day to sit in silence with an open mind and heart. knowing that you are loved by the Father and the Spirit Mother. Continue your trek down the path of life, knowing your choices will always be seen in the light and life of the divine. Whatever we do, at its core, will be the goodness and usefulness of God's grace. Just for a moment, let us pause in the presence of God, knowing that you are loved and guided and supported. Oh, sweet Spirit, thank you for this gift of resting in your presence, for your peace and comfort. So, it's time now to return our awareness back to this time and place, feeling refreshed and revitalized and in tune with life. We affirm, so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. And now we are so pleased to welcome Reverend Marlene Morris back to our virtual pulpit. She is a consummate New Thought minister with deep roots in metaphysical training. She provides lessons that are insightful, inspiring, and relevant to living a life guided by enduring principles. She will leave you with another pocket full of spiritual nuggets that we all can think about and absorb for days, for weeks, after another one of her lessons. So, please join me in welcoming Reverend Marlene Morris.
Good morning. It's the 4th of July, and I want to celebrate with you. So, let's talk freedom. Well, we as Americans have a tendency to believe that we have a right to be free. I think it serves us to remember that that isn't true for everyone everywhere. Aung San Suu Kyi, the 1991 Nobel Peace Prize winner for her work on democracy in Burma, wrote, "Freedom is a united determination to persevere in the struggle, to make sacrifices in the name of enduring truths. To be free is to be able to do what you think is right." While I tend to overall agree with her, I'm not sure that's always true. Let me tell you a little story. When I was very young, my mother had a friend who was a psychologist. And the psychologist had a daughter just about my age. The mothers were chatting in the living room, and the two of us girls were in the bedroom playing when the mothers were alerted by some yelling. Mine. The psychologist's daughter had me pinned down on the floor and was threatening me with violence. I don't remember why. I'm not sure it was important even then. But the psychologist looked knowingly and wisely at her daughter and said, "April, dear, you must do what you know to be right." And utilizing her freedom to do what she knew to be right, April slugged me. I've never forgotten it, and it's been some time. Ernest Holmes once wrote that within the unlimited universe, there is absolute freedom and ample opportunity for personal expression. Well, April was certainly expressing her freedom. Which leads me to the next question. How do we know what is right? And how do we know maybe what is not so right? In The Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes suggests that we're not going to know. That we, as individualizations of the one, already do know what is right. But some of us, rather than living from that knowing, prefer to persevere in the struggle of not knowing. And in our supposed not knowing, what's to become of us? Wordsworth asked, "Where is fled the visionary gleam? Where is it now, the glory and the dream?" I think you could ask the same question today at times and wonder where it's gone. There's a story borrowed from India that a very pious man studied every day with a scholar who would come to his house and read from the great holy books and quote the great holy leaders and the mystics. And the man had a parrot, don't they always? The parrot was kept in the same room in which these learned discourses were given, and so the parrot, for lack of anything better to do, also listened to the lessons. One day after the teacher left, the parrot spoke up and asked his master, "So, tell me, just what is it that you hope to gain from all of these lessons?" The master shook his head at the obvious ignorance of his pet and said, "You do not understand. These talks and learnings about the lives of the great men who gave them will liberate me, free me from all bondage and limitation." "Oh," said the parrot, "but it seems to me that you've been studying for years and I don't notice any change in you. Would you ask your teacher just what it is that is supposed to happen to you?" So the next day, the parrot's owner said to his teacher, "I've been at this for a long time. Isn't it true that someday I will be truly free?" The teacher paused and scratched his head and thought really hard. For an hour, he pondered the question. And then he put on his coat and walked out the door. The parrot's owner was stunned. His guru had no answer. But the bird had found one. For that day, the bird stopped eating. It stopped talking. It became absolutely silent. The frantic owner placed fresh food in the cage every single day, but the parrot wouldn't touch a thing. And finally, one sad day, seeing no sign of life, the master opened the cage and gently removed his lifeless pet. With a sad heart, he took it outside and placed it on the lawn while he prepared a tiny grave. In an instant, the bird was up and gone. And as it flew beyond his frantic grasp, he could hear it say, "Sometimes you have to do more than talk. This is freedom." Smart bird. Edward Howe wrote, "We talk about the land of the free and the home of the brave, but we act as though we were frightened children, enslaved by our mortgages, our jobs, and our gold cards." To paraphrase Walter Lippmann, while the right to talk may be the beginning of freedom, the necessity of listening is what makes that right work. So I find myself wondering then, what is it we should be listening to? Certainly not the evening news. What we hear at 6 and 11, while being possibly informative, is certainly not the truth that will make us free. Murder, insurrection, mayhem, and the squabbling of the two-party system do very little to encourage our sense of freedom. Listening to well-meaning friends who know our history may or may not be the beginning of freedom, but you listen at your own peril. Perhaps what we are here to listen to is not a human voice after all. At least not one we can hear on the television. Perhaps we are called to listen to what our founders called providence, divine providence. what the mystics call the still small voice, the inner knowing that points the way to freedom. And what that voice suggests is that our freedom must be more to us than just pretty words or an occasional day away from work, or however stirring it may be, a display of colors that lights up the sky. That we are reasonably free here in America is reasonably obvious. The bigger question, I think, is what are we doing with that freedom? Mary Mayers writes that what we are here for is to make the world new. And, says she, the instructions are not complicated. It's much harder to decipher the instructions for putting together a tricycle than it is to understand these. We know, she says, what we are to do. Seek justice, love mercy, walk humbly, and treat every person as though she were yourself. Our real responsibility, I think, is to live our freedom as a sacred fact, to move beyond the words of the songs that we sing, beyond the vocal appreciation of the fact that we are free, into true freedom, which is living our freedom, living free, with freedom from limitation in any form, for ourselves, for everyone. Freedom from dis-ease in any form, for ourselves, for everyone. Freedom from fear, everywhere, for ourselves, and for everyone. Freedom for all of us begins with our individual commitment to living our lives according to the instructions. And ultimately, that finds its fullest expression in a free and peaceful world. So, let's take a minute and look at those instructions. Seek justice. The scales in which liberty rests are those of justice, and no one is free until everyone is free. Prejudice to prejudge tilts the scales against anyone who is different. If we permit prejudice, then sooner or later it is inevitable that we shall be judged for our differences. Jewish theologian Abraham Heschel wrote, "It is dangerous to take freedom for granted, to regard it as a prerogative rather than an obligation. It is the beginning of wisdom to be amazed at the fact of our being free. And it is the ultimate wisdom to seek freedom for all." The second thing is to love mercy. To really love mercy, not judge it. Ernest Holmes again, "Every evidence of human experience, all acts of kindness and mercy, have interpreted themselves through our self-knowing mind. The self-knowing, God-knowing mind proclaims itself in every thought, deed, or act. To act godlike, to be godlike, is truly the only proof of our divinity. And it is a choice. And then says the author, walk humbly. Walk humbly. Let us be proud of our divinity, and yet humble before the awareness of the greatness of the whole. Let us stand tall in our divinity, and walk humbly in our humanity. In accepting our freedom to choose, let us choose to love one another, to be compassionate and forgiving, to live in recognition of the presence of God in all humankind, and in awe of the power that is inherent in our freedom. And finally, she says, treat every person as though she were yourself. Love one another. Let one another live free. Help one another to live free. With belated apologies to Janis Joplin, freedom is not just another word for nothing else to do. In fact, freedom calls us to do more. In spite of what you may have heard, freedom is not automatically a right, but it is a responsibility. The responsibility that calls us to be vigilant, calls us to be brave, calls us to make things new. We can begin by seeing God in ourselves and complete the circle by seeing God good in everything and everyone. Our God-given freedom is the freedom to choose our experience of life. And it requires that we see that we are free just as much to choose bondage as to choose freedom. To choose fear over faith, to choose prejudice over understanding, to choose limitation over plenty, or tyranny over freedom. But it also requires of us that we see that we are free to realize that God is a very real presence in our lives. And trusting that, to choose God, and to choose unlimited freedom. Teilhard de Chardin wrote, "This world, this palpable world, and everything and everyone in it, the country, the land, the house we live in, this world, which we are wont to treat with the boredom and disrespect with which we habitually regard places with no sacred association for us, is in truth a holy place, and we did not know it." Or perhaps we simply didn't recognize it. So allow me to point this out. This world, this entirety that surrounds us, is holy because it is filled with God, with good. Look around, see the beauty, see the wonder. It is holy because it is filled with a history of human dedication to a higher cause. When we know that, our lives are filled with the freedom to be, do, and have any other freedom we choose. Henry Ward Beecher once wrote that liberty is the soul's right to breathe. We've got to stop just talking about freedom. Just singing about freedom. Just lighting up firecrackers and rockets to prove our freedom. We've got to be still. And in that holy silence, just let your soul breathe. In the sacred space which God has provided, just breathe. Silence. Breathe. Oh, freedom. In that space, which is within each of us, in this space within each of us, there is freedom. Because in this space within each of us is the awareness of the presence of God, which is the greatest freedom of all. Thomas Jefferson wrote, "I know no safer depository of the ultimate powers of society but the people themselves." The Absolute seems to have had much the same thought when it created humanity in its own image and likeness, placing within us the powers of creation and the freedom to use them. 1 Corinthians says, "But we all, with open face, beholding as in a glass the glory of God, are changed into the same image from glory to glory, even as by the Spirit of the Lord." As our minds open and we begin to behold the image of God within ourselves and within one another, we are changed by the seeing into a new way of being. This is about not just talking about God, but living the life of God, allowing Spirit to move through us, to be willing to let the ideas we hold become glorious reality through us. We are. Our world is. More than it appears to be. The book of Jeremiah says, "Let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, nor the mighty man glory in his might. Let not the rich man glory in his riches, but let him that glories glory in this, that he knows and understands God." A contemporary of our founders, Wordsworth, in Intimations of Immortality, wrote, "Our birth is but a sleep and a forgetting. The soul that rises with us, our life's star, hath had somewhere else its setting, and cometh from afar, not in entire forgetfulness, and not in utter nakedness, but trailing clouds of glory do we come from God, who is our home." Dante wrote that the glory of God, who moves everything, penetrates the universe. The glory of God. The glory of God penetrates your universe, your life. Look around you, look within you. As John reminded us at the beginning of the service, in thought, word, and action, I celebrate my freedom. Wherever you are, be aware of where you are right now. On this 4th day of July in the year 2021, for wherever you are on holy ground. For there is no place where God is not, and where God is, because God is expressing as you, where you are, the ground is hallowed. In this moment, look beyond the coming sparkling lights and the appearances and see the truth. Don't just accept freedom. Choose freedom. Choose to love everything, everyone, because you claim to love God, and there simply is no place where God is not, nor any person without it. You are free in this moment to be more than you have ever been. The inspiration is all around you. And the power is within you. See the wonder. See the God. See the glory. Choose freedom and become the dream.
When I walked out the door, I sensed a presence, and I knew this was a place where love abounds. For this is a temple, the love we share abides here. Oh, we are standing on holy ground. We are standing on holy ground, and I know there are angels all around. Let us sing out loud, for we are standing on holy ground. In this presence, I know there's a joy beyond all measure. And in this presence, sweet peace of mind can still be found. For when we have a need, we have all the answers. Reach out and claim it, for we are standing on holy
you, Julia. We are indeed standing on holy ground. Thank you, Smitty and the Unity Band, for your uplifting creations. We are so blessed to have such a talented bunch of musicians at our church. Thank you so, so much. And Reverend Marlene, thank you for this wonderful reminder of how to bring freedom into our spiritual and daily lives. Your stories and your metaphors are so inspiring as we all go about our daily acts of living this coming week. I know we will have your helpful words to ruminate on. I know everyone who watched this sermon will continue to be inspired. Thank you, Marlene. Thank you, Reverend. This is the time in our service where we offer our gifts to the place where we are spiritually nurtured, Unity of Ventura. When you practice the spiritual principle of giving to the place that uplifts and spiritually nourishes you, you then jumpstart the principle of divine circulation, allowing your highest good to appear faster and easier. And by supporting the place where you are spiritually fed, the unity message keeps going, offering hope and spiritual sustenance to others. You can give your donation in a variety of ways. First, by going to our website, which you see on the screen, www.unityofventura.org. And then when you get there, you'll find a great big orange button that says Donate. Well, you know what you're supposed to do. Click the button. Secondly, if you don't do that, you can always drop a check or money order in the mail. Or third, you can use your bank's bill pay service. Whatever methods you choose, in whatever amounts you feel guided to give, we are so grateful for your support. So, let's take a moment to turn inward. Find that place inside where God indwells you, where you and God are one. As you rest in that wonderful indwelling presence, it's from that sacred space that I invite you to consider the following statement. I give willingly, joyfully, lovingly. And as that statement resonates within you, please hold your gift in your hand and in your heart as we bless it with our offering blessing. I'll say it once, then I'll ask you to repeat it with me. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I give. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I receive. Let's say that together. Are you ready? Okay. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I give. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I receive. Sweet Spirit, we take this moment to acknowledge and bless these gifts offered today that have been given so willingly, so joyfully, so lovingly. We affirm that these gifts are used to further the will and the work of God through this ministry. We acknowledge, thank, and bless each giver, knowing they have been open and receptive to divine guidance, and they have given to us from a place of loving kindness and generosity. We know, dear God, that you are richly blessing each giver in magnificent and wondrous ways for sharing of their prosperity. And so it is. Amen. As we begin to close our service today, we extend great thanks once again to Reverend Marlene for her lesson, and the Unity Music Team for their ongoing musical inspiration, and to the technical genius and fortitude of Smitty West for all the behind the scenes. You have no idea, but all the behind the scenes magic he does in bringing these services to you week after week. One of these days I should just turn the camera around and let you see what he does. It's totally amazing. And we especially thank you for being with us in mind and in heart. It wouldn't be Unity Ventura without you. So before we go, I've just got a couple of reminders. First, we extend a sincere invitation to those of you on Zoom to please stay online a bit longer after the service as we open up our spiritual salon. This is a really nice time, an opportunity for us to have some fellowship, some sharing, some support, and always a certain amount of laughter. Give yourself the gift of community and please join us. Finally, if you are in need of or interested in receiving prayer support from our prayer ministers for you, for your family, for anyone you know, please reach out. It's their mission to be of service to you. If you or someone you know is going through something, don't let them do it alone. Call us or email the church office, and the entire team will hold the high watch for you in their prayers. We now conclude our service by singing the peace song and saying the prayer for protection, and by inviting each of you to join us again next week. Till then, thank you and God bless you.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as our Creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous love. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.